First time he saw the North Koreans face to face, since the 50s, so he says to me like, hey, look, no matter whatever happens, don't leave me and just drag me out. I'm trying to remember his stories. He said they had a farm, the Depression hit, and but because it was a farm, they didn't starve, so they were well off, Second World War started, and his brothers went. He stayed because he was like, what, not even a teenager yet. Oh man, that's crazy too. At my great uncles, because they were they landed Normandy and fight the Battle of the Bulge. And
wow, so your grandfather's older brothers landed in Normandy.
Yeah, fought the Battle of the Bulge and into Czechoslovakia.
And so your grandfather just kind of followed in their footsteps.
Yeah, my dad was saying, your grandfather, he's super intelligent, but he dropped out of school during the Depression or during the war, so he only had an 8th grade education. There was no going back to school or college for him at that point. And I think that once the draft came, he just answered it, and went to the army. Then Korea, he served with this unit, the 65th Infantry, which was made up of Puerto Ricans. He was with the 3rd Infantry Division, and because he spoke Spanish, they pulled him away and put him with the 65th. And he said, he told them like, I don't know what they're saying, Okay. And his commanding officer says, I don't give a crap, Perez. Just do it.
So he didn't speak Spanish, or their accent was so heavy that
it was they spoke like a different heavy accent of Spanish. Like I struggle with Spanish myself, man, and I can only. And when that trip we took to Puerto Rico, trying to talk to people, I'm like, what? What the hell did they say? Well, I can only imagine what it was like for him in Korea, When it came down to combat, though, he said that it was like a bit hazy, because it's like he had to shut down, and so like I could never get the full story. I just know that he knocked out a machine gun nest, got an award for it. Talked about how like the Puerto Ricans were being poorly supplied. They weren't supplying them, so they're pretty much going into combat with like no ammo, going hand to hand with North Koreans and Chinese. And then he says like whenever they are resupplied, they put them right there at the front, And he said that period of time when he was in Korea, that's when the Chinese like jumped into the war and attacked, And he said like they're just coming at you in human waves, and he says, you can't run. They're just gonna overrun you, So you can't run. And he said something about like how cold it was, how so cold it was it hurts. And up until the day he died, he just said he always hated the cold, Even when it was hot the hot summers here we have, like there were points he'd say, can you turn on the heater? Because that pretty much, I think that attributed to his decline in his health, man. He had frostbite in Korea, But I remember him telling me, those machine guns, they're just pouring out lead, and to the point where like they're jamming and the barrels are drooping down, and those stories, they kind of stick with you, He's talking about how the families just get, direct hit to like their house or something, and they're just shattered everywhere, just scattered all to pieces, and then somehow the little kids are left, and the kids were always following them, and it's just not safe for the kids and not safe for you to have them with you, so you have to be a mean old bastard and just be like, no, get the hell away from me, and I remember he told that to me, he told that to my youngest brother, and just the three of us, and I'm pretty sure like my youngest brother, he was thinking about that, in Afghanistan right now, covering the evacuation,
So your brother he joined the Marines?
Yeah. He went to recruiter the day after my grandfather died.
How did you feel about that as an older brother?
I told him, are you sure, Like I didn't want to say don't do this, I just asked him to think it over, I told him just think it over, and he said I did, yeah. I'm like, well, all right.
Yeah.
All right. go do that, you know, regardless of what mom and dad say.
Yeah. And so what was he doing specifically in Afghanistan the last few months?
Well, he was there. He was just there for that evacuation.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, and I'm thinking about Grandpa. You know, my grandfather. You know, just like I said, he always talked about the kids and telling them to, you know, for their safety, just stay the hell away from me. And then we're watching the news and we're seeing like Marines like getting the kids, whole families in there, getting them across, you know, as best they can, you know, pulling them over or even through the barbed wire. You know, it's their humanity right there.
Yeah. You mentioned you went to Puerto Rico with your grandfather, and you also went to Korea, South Korea, and a bit of North Korea with your grandfather. What was your grandfather's experience like being in Korea again?
You know, it's the first time I see him like interact with other veterans too. You know, so that was the first time I saw him drink like, you know, him and a bunch of grunts. You know, other veterans. You know, they're just. That was the first time I saw him drunk, man. Yeah, he was plastered, man. It was funny. But like, I guess like when you get him, like when veterans, I think it's important for veterans to take trips like this. You know, like I remember watching documentaries, you know, before we did this, you know, growing up watching docs of like Vietnam veterans going back, you know, or going to the wall in D.C., you know, it was a healing process, you know. So I think that's what it is. It's more of a healing process for them, you know. And of course, yeah, the first time he's back there since what, 1950, 1951, you know. Last time he was there, it was just a smoldering ruin, you know.
And you were able to all cross over the demilitarized zone?
There's an area, yeah, you take the tour and they let you in the compound. Of course, you gotta like, for months in advance, so you gotta sign off on the paperwork though, you know. And they, at Panmunjom, they keep the meeting rooms open where they, you know, just if the North Koreans ever want to come to the negotiation table, you know, they said just stay away from the back door because they may try to grab you. You know, they gave us a safety brief about some incidents that happened before. I don't want to say I ever saw him afraid, ever, you know, but I could see he was definitely concerned. You know, we had him in his wheelchair, but they wouldn't let us take the wheelchair in for some reason, you know, and so we had to carry him in. You know, he could barely walk. And he says to me like, "Hey, look, no matter whatever happens, you know, don't leave me, and just drag me out." You know, yeah. The first time he saw the North Koreans face to face, you know, since the 50s, you know. So yeah, I could feel that. Yeah, he puckered up a little bit.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, yeah, no matter what.
Was he able to speak to the North Koreans?
No, we're not allowed to speak to North Koreans. Yeah,
Okay.
It said don't make any gestures toward them, don't do anything, you know. Now they're right there looking at you through the window on the outside, you know. Yeah.
But you could sense that your grandfather was on edge.
Yeah. He became that. I don't want to say he was scared, but yeah, he became that concerned grunt.
And when you crossed over
we were just like 20 feet over, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, 20 feet, 20 miles. Yeah, I'm in North Korea.
Yeah. So you're able to walk 20 feet into North Korea.
Yeah, as long as we're in that meeting room. That's where the treaty was signed, you know, in the 50s, right there. You know, that signaled the ceasefire. Yeah. But yeah, as long as we stayed in there, we're cool. That's what we were told, you know. So long as we're staying here.
What does your grandfather's service to this country mean to you and to your family?
It means a lot to us, you know. Like he always said, like I learned all sorts of things in the army, and he always told us growing up, you know, the more you know, the more you're worth, you know. But he also said something like don't feel like don't do it for me or anyone else, do it for you. You know?
What does your brother's service mean to you and to your family?
My dad said, you know, on September 11th, I had him. You were at school, and I had him bouncing on my knee as I'm watching the news, you know. And now, you know, it ends with him over there, you know, right before he turns 21. I'm glad he was there to save people, you know. He was actually just like, you know, pulling people out, you know. Like whenever I saw the news and they're you know, like that Marine, you know, pulling a baby over the barbed wire and they're getting families out, you know, I was always looking for him. He was actually there saving people.